Hello and welcome to my channel. Hello and welcome to my channel, Inner Journey with Meditation. I'm Doris. Today I'm going to talk about ways to communicate with your inner being. I felt that I have talked a lot about communicate with your inner being, connect with your inner being, dialogue with your inner being, and I've actually mentioned this across my videos, and this is a way for me to try and pull things together and at the same time give you examples, because I've experienced some. Actually, I think most of the ones I'm going to talk about I've experienced them, but not all of them, and you find out in a minute. So and also to help you, rather than me saying connect with your inner being, dialogue with your inner being, at least to help you to start to listen for and watch out for those communication signals, because the communication, the dialogue is a language. It's like a slow dance between you and your inner being, and it's more important for you to understand the messages, or it's more important for you to understand how you've been communicated to, right? So I think it's more it's more important for you to learn how to understand your inner being. Okay, so this video is going to talk about what I've done is I've split it into two. I've split it into active and passive communication, and I call it this, the clue is in the name. Passive is what I would refer to as like one way. So one way from your inner being to yourself, like a yes, no, should I take this? Yes. Okay. And active will be more what I would refer to as a two-way communication. You ask a specific question, you get a response back, or a specific response back. Passive communication, you can have pressure in the ear, like one or both ears, doesn't matter which, but sometimes you can have, all of a sudden you just feel pressure in your ear. That's your inner being talking to you. And when you have this, I would say, number one, recognize it for what it is. It feels more like, what does it feel like? I was going to say it feels like when you go swimming and there's water in your ear and it's sort of blocked. Is it that, or is it like when you go for when you go to a club or something and the music is so loud, but you can. I felt it in one ear, and it didn't matter which. But I didn't really feel it in both ears at the same time. I felt it in one or the other. And when I felt it, I knew, because this was early on in my journey. When I felt it, I knew that, okay, I am being communicated with, because at that time I didn't really know who my inner being was. And what I did was I used to stop and just look around, just to see what my attention was being drawn to. So for example, there was one time, I think I talked in one video about like a time when there was music playing in the background. I noticed this bird out in the window, something like that. It would be that I would have felt pressure in my ear, and I'll just look up just to see, and then I've seen the bird. It's like, oh, you know, it was just like a series of things. And that was me learning the language. Noticed the bird, and then I heard the music, and you know, it all just came together. But that's an example of one way. So pressure in the ear. Another one is smell. Again, you find that you have a stronger sense of smell for something in the room. So like a particular item in the room. You can ask someone else, well, can you smell it? And usually it would be your inner being if it's the same thing. So I think I had this where when I meditated, I would burn essential oil, and in our bedroom, and there was one time I used to smell this a lot, and I always felt, why does this essential oil linger, or at least is there every time I came into the room? So I would ask my husband, like, can you smell that? He's like, no. And so I got to recognize that was my inner being. And also the other thing that my inner being did at the time was, every time I woke up in the morning, it was almost as if someone was touching my nose, and I could just smell it. And it wasn't a smell that lingered. It was just like, smell this and then stop. Do you see? If it was an awful smell, or if it was a smell from flowers or something, you smell it continuously, and then it would just peter out. This is more like instantaneous and stop, and it would be very strong, it would be very instantaneous, and then it would stop. So I had this on and off, and I got to recognize it as communication from my inner being. The other one is music. I mean, I just described one to you, you know, that was actually a combination. You find that you might you might find yourself paying attention, noticing a particular lyric, string of music, just something, and it just catches your attention and you don't know why. And it might be the same song, or there'll be something there. And that story I told you is an example of a combination of things. Remember I said this is one way. It will be your inner being. Your inner being can see that you're going to listen to a particular song, because obviously they can see ahead of you, and might draw your attention to a particular track in that album, you know, just to give you information. So definitely music is one of it. That happened with me on several occasions. It just seemed that a particular track was something, there was a message in it for me to pay attention to. What else? I'm just gonna get another one. Now, emotional compass. This is an interesting one, because you're like, well, what's an emotional compass? Well, if you think about your emotions from joyous, elation, happiness, to sad, angry, anxious, depressed, all the rest of that, if we assume that that's some sort of a compass, this is used a lot in the law of attraction. And I do have an example here. When you have a thought and then there is an emotion associated with it, your inner being can communicate with you via that emotion, so that you are able to navigate things. Some people call it just my sixth sense or something. Like, especially, you know, you go into a room or you go somewhere and your inner being knows that you're not going to have a good time, and you just know you feel bad, but you don't know why you feel bad, and you just think, I know I need to leave this place, and you're out. Do you see, there are some people that are sensitive like that. At the same time, like I said, law of attraction uses this, is when you have a thought, your inner being can make you feel, your inner being can make you feel really happy about that thought, and you just know, like, I know I need to do this, I know I should, I don't know why, but this feels right, this feels good to do, and I have to go with it because it's always, you know, it's always, I don't know why it's good, but the idea of it feels good, makes me happy, and I have to learn to trust it. That's your inner being communicating with you that that thought, that situation is a good one. So I'm gonna actually, two examples came to mind. One of them was when I was looking for a childminder for my daughter. It's like, this was the first or second lady I went to, I can't remember, but I just thought, yep, I want this lady. I'm like, this is the woman to look after my first daughter, my first child. And I could never explain why I felt absolutely sure and good that that's the one to go for. And that's my inner being. At the time, didn't know I had an inner being. At the time, that's my inner being saying, yeah, because this woman was absolutely brilliant. She was an amazing, amazing childcare provider. The other one that I want to share is I had a thought. I was thinking about writing a recipe book. Haven't done the recipe book. I had this idea that I wanted to bring together a range of African recipes from the different region, because I just couldn't find a book. I thought there is a gap in the market here. I would like to do this. So, and as soon as I had this thought, I suddenly thought, but to do this, I need to get a really good camera. I need to get a really good camera. Believe it or not, it wasn't the recipe book that was exciting to me. It was like, I need to get a good camera. I was incredibly happy. It felt so good. It felt like this is the right thing to do. I'm on the right path. At this point, I was listening to Abraham Hicks as well. So I had this thought about getting a camera and starting to write a recipe book, and the thought just made me feel good. I was really, and I thought, in the right path, I've hit something here. I don't know what it is. I have hit something. I am going to get a good camera. Guess what? That's the camera that I'm using to do my YouTube videos. No idea I was going to do YouTube at that point. Didn't intend to do YouTube. Even the thought of doing YouTube then, not in my head yet. Here I am today doing YouTube. So that's another one. You have a thought, and then there is an emotion associated with that thought, and that's your inner being saying, yes, go for it. Inner being talking to you. When you practice this, again, I say it's passive and it's subtle. You know, you have to learn it. When you practice this, then you begin to feel like, yeah, I've always followed this, and I'll continue to trust it. That's your inner being talking to you. The other one that I don't have personal experience of, but I do feel it is valid, is what I call emotional sensitives. People that are able to, emotional sensitive, emotional intuitive, that are able to garner information about the world, I guess, the universe. I don't know. This is what I mean by I don't have a personal experience of it, but I believe that that information that they garner, that they gather and they share with the rest of us, coming from your inner being, except that they've learned to interpret it very well. So So these are the list of passive communication. Just like I said, it's subtle, like a whisper. So it's so much more important to learn, listen to it, acknowledge it, and over time you get better at it. You get better at understanding your inner being communicating with you. Now let's move on to the active one. Let's see. I'll start with the third eye. I've talked about the third eye during meditation. I found mine whilst I was meditating, and I learned to use it as a two-way dialogue. I'd write a question, a note, relax, go to a place in my imagination, because that's where the third eye is, my imagination, and focus on my imagination and focus on the answer that was being put there, because that's your inner being is putting information there. And it's just practice. When you practice that, you will begin, and that's two-way, because you can literally write a question down, sit down, focus on your imagination, and get a response. I know that the temptation the temptation would be, where did they hide the money in the woods? No, please. That's the temptation. You want to get to the big question. Where is that big job? Straight away. No. My advice, no, is not to do that. My advice is to learn to understand when information is being given to you, what it is, to learn to interpret it first. Because even your inner being, I bet you, if they're anything like my inner being, will not tell you where the gold is. I don't know where the gold is. Do you see? Or they will not tell you what. They will not tell you what the lottery number is either. I tried that, it didn't work. So yeah, I'm just saying it's just more important, you know, it's just more important to learn the dialogue. Okay, the other one is dreams. I've done a video on dreams, and that's your inner being communicating with you when you're dreaming. Basically, your inner being is formulating the dream for you. So but that's is that a two-way? Doesn't really feel like a two-way, but in the dream you are interacting with your inner being in your mind. You just don't know that you're interacting with your inner being in your mind. But that probably comes under a passive information, because you don't really. It comes under both, and I'm sort of hesitant, because what you could do if you wrote a question before you fall asleep and say, "Wake me up." If you say, "I want to remember the most significant dream of the night," your inner being will wake you up straight away, so you'd remember. So there's a two-way communication, although the information being presented, or that was presented to you, is one way. How you interpret it is another matter. You know, so dreams are good. They're good, and may not be as reliable as you would like. So it's anyway, watch my video and you know what I mean. It's more like you have to learn the symbols or what things mean, so you don't misinterpret them. But they are so open to misinterpretation, but they are definitely communication from your inner being to you. Not the last one actually. The next one is thoughts, where you can discern. And so far for me, I think this is the most instantaneous one, which is where I am, where I can discern my thoughts and that of my inner being. I ask a question, I get a response. I have a two-way conversation. We can have a full two-way dialogue where part of that dialogue is not me. It's not me thinking, you know. So how do you, again, practice. I don't know how else, I don't know how to get people to learn how to do that. That's between you and your inner being. I don't know how. That's something that happened to me. I did a lot of communication via the third eye. I found that that was very accurate for me, and then it sort of moved towards thoughts. So during the daytime, I was thinking, and then I suddenly noticed that some thoughts in there wasn't my own, and after a while, it was like that wasn't me. That thought that's random. That's not me. And then with practice, without even knowing I was practicing, I could separate out these two, and my inner being helped by not having the same voice. So you have your own voice in your head, the way you think in your head. So with time, these other thoughts encapsulated other people. Say sometimes it could be my mom. Like if you remember how your parents speak to you in your mind, if you remember that voice of your parent in your mind, it's like that voice of a friend, voice of someone, an actress or something, you know, in an interesting accent. It sort of slowly became that, and I suddenly realized that, you know, that we were having two-way communication and two-way dialogues and conversations that way. So that's that. Now, the last one that I want to talk about is drugs, more specifically DMT. And I say this, I think I have done a video on this, on consciousness and DMT, and it's really, you can go watch the full video. It's really when you are under the influence of drugs like DMT, you can perceive this physical plane and something and another plane, but really all you're perceiving is an image that's been generated and formulated by your inner being for you. And I say, you know, this I don't know. This I don't know. This is not a personal experience because I've never done DMT. I've never done DMT, you know, gas and air. That's the best. That's the most I've done during labor, and I thought that was being hard. I didn't even see anything. Now I know that when people are on DMT, they see stuff. I should have done it. Anyway, point being that it's communication between you and your inner being. You can have two-way. And you can consciously remember all of this. The problem with that, though, is number one, the obvious danger with taking DMT and the risk of, you know, dying and not actually coming back, because DMT destroys the pineal gland, as I mentioned in that video. Number two, you usually go through this process where you focus on a sort of healing, trying to address, you know, some trauma or something. You focus so much on that, and then it's worn off, and then you start again. You take it again, and then you start. So you never really get to a point where you're asking really, is the word I'm looking for constructive questions, you know, things that will help you in life. When you're under the influence of DMT, it doesn't seem to me that you're able to say, so where does consciousness reside in the body? You know, it just doesn't seem like that is the time for that. And then for me, it seems to me that at least you lose valuable communication time not getting valuable information that would help you solve your problems in your physical daily life. I suppose the thing with DMT is most people don't know that they're communicating with their inner being. I've just said to you, what you see is image projection from your inner being, and you go through healing and all the rest of that, but you actually don't know that you are communicating with your inner being. So now you could say, oh, I'll go and take, and the thing that you see is based on your the thing that you see is based on your beliefs. If you expect to see a doctor, you see a doctor. If you expect to see God, you see God. If you expect to see Jesus, you see Jesus. All a projection generated for you by your inner being, which is fair enough. You go through the healing process. For me, it's more, how is that going to help me in my day-to-day life now? And if it can, yeah. But it doesn't seem to me that being under the influence of DMT is good for you in the long term, as you know, there's a huge risk to the body. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope you like the content, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.